Well, the projects keep coming in, and this one seems to be a toughie. It's hard to show it, but if you can see across the base, the top is caved in, basically. It's literally lower right here than it is here or here. Water would run across there. That's how deep it is. I mean, like if you were pouring water on it, it would run across this way, not that way at all. Anyway, this base belongs to a friend of mine that I've seen around for years, and I was telling her that it needs to be fixed. I've actually been telling her that for several years. And what they did was they put an extra sound post in it. I'm almost positive the base bar is loose or broken, one of the two. And the other side isn't much better. I don't know why it's so caved in either. And the laminates are separating. I can see that already. I mean, just by looking at the edge of them, you can tell the laminates are separating in this top. So we got our work cut out for us on this puppy. The top's going to have to come off. And we'll bring you along for the ride and see what we can do with it. Thought you might get a kick out of seeing how I tighten and loosen bass strings, especially when I got to take them all the way off. These won't come off down at the tailpiece like some of them do, so I have to take them completely out of here. I need to get the strings off of this thing entirely because I'm taking the whole top off the instrument. So it's just a lot easier and this thing is much faster. So it's just a wooden dowel with a slot in it and a hole, and put it in the drill, and I can just turn it like that, and it just unwinds the string much faster than you can do by hand. The only trick is you got to kind of keep it centered on the key, and once in a while it'll wander a little bit, but it's not too bad if you don't go too fast. You just can't do it very fast. All there is to it, much faster. Well, we're going handheld, and we're working on the old bass that I suspect the tone bar is loose on, and the top is caved in. It's actually kind of got a V groove almost all the way across the F holes on the top of this bass. That's how bad it is. I have been trying to pry the edges off of it, and I've got about almost halfway around. And I can see inside it now, and for sure the bass bar is loose. Let's see if we can go in and see it from here. I don't know if the lighting, yeah, there it shows up, it looks like. You can see obviously the bass bar is very loose inside there. That was pretty obvious to me. It was loose somewhere. I didn't know if it was loose on this end or the other end. Couldn't tell. But now we know it's this end. And you can see that it's really coming apart. Actually, it's coming apart pretty well, but there's a lot of fragmentation going on that we'll just have to see what we have to do to repair all that and make it better. But right now, the idea is just get the top off, and if we have to repair the top, we'll do that too. Well, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. This thing came apart kind of shredded. It's really bad, and I knew it was going to be bad. I mean, you can see just delaminations everywhere. Part of that's from prying the top off, don't get me wrong, but 90% of it is because this lamination was just coming loose anyway. It's delaminated under where that's, you can see it's delaminated here. It's delaminated everywhere. The F holes are delaminated around the edges like this. You can just pick, see, like right here, you can pick the F hole up. You can pick this one up. It's very bad shape. But with a little TLC and a little time, we can bring all that back and make it just as strong as ever, I believe. It'll take a little cleaning up, a little bit of extra work, but we can make it really good, I believe. This base had 2 sound posts in it, one on each side, because this base bar obviously wasn't holding anything. And you can even see the flex in the top. Well, it probably doesn't show up very good on video, but it lifts the front end up when I press this base bar down, because that's how much flex there is in it. This is really bent across right here, where you can see the last place that it was connected. So the top was really underbowed right in here. Sorry about all the coughing, but I've been really sick the last couple of weeks. I apologize. But anyway, we'll get her fixed. One of the key things about this kind of repair is you can't be overwhelmed by all the problems. And there's so many problems here that it's almost impossible to explain. You can see how flexing this, pulling this out right here, you know, is flexing open that lamination underneath. See, the lamination underneath is actually a pretty big problem. If you don't fix that, then gluing this back to something that's got an open lamination problem won't do you any good. See, I've got the knife stuck down in there. Well, I had it down in there. Holding the camera and trying to do all this in one thing is pretty hard to do. But you can see that the chisel goes down underneath the laminated top there. And it's not protruding under here, so it's definitely sticking down inside there. So there's a great big gap of delaminated area underneath this brace. So we've got to get that glued at the same time we glue the brace back. The very first repair I want to make on this is the brace, because the brace is going to flex the whole top, and I want everything free to move and flex. And then once I get that top back into the shape it's supposed to be in, then we'll start gluing back all these delaminated parts. See, every lamination there is a part. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's actually 5 pieces of wood and 4 spaces between them that need to be re-glued and clamped. So I mean, this thing is really coming apart. It was definitely more than time to get it fixed. If it would have waited much longer, and really a lot of people would already say this is impossible to fix, but you know, I've fixed things worse than this, so we'll fix it. It just takes a little extra time and a little extra care. Okay, I'm getting ready, just about ready, to put some glue in here. But I thought I'd better press around on this and see. Well, sure enough, that lamination is loose much further than I thought. On the other side, it's only loose about to here. On this side, it's loose way up past the end of the F-hole. So I kind of cracked it on purpose to be able to get some glue up in here. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to get glue all the way back up in here, a lot of glue, so that it'll force back underneath and around. There is no chance of this holding unless all this lamination is fixed. And it has to be fixed at the same time. There's no practical way to fix the lamination and then fix this. I mean, I guess if I took this the rest of the way off, but it seems to be holding up here, so I don't want to mess with that, at least not for right now. So here we go. We're just going to start gluing her back. I've got Tight Bond Original here, which in my opinion is just about as good as wood glue as you can get. I'm just going to squirt it back in there in droves, just forcing it back in the hole. It's going to squeeze out like crazy because I'm putting tons of it in there. At the moment, all I'm doing is putting it under the lamination. I'm not even trying to get it on the brace. Wow. This lamination is loose all the way over to here to this sound hole. Now that I see that, that just makes it worse. I wonder if I can get some glue in from this direction. Wow, look at that. It just lifts up. It's just terrible. This thing is in bad shape. It's hard to explain how bad it is. So I'm just going to pour glue, let gravity pour it down in there. And now I'm going to take my brush, and I know you can't see this, but I don't have time to deal with the camera, and I'm just going to take the brush and sweep it back under this lamination as far as I can get it back underneath there, all the way to that brace if I can. Golly, what a mess. What a mess. It's worse than I thought. I mean, it's really bad. I don't know if I can get underneath there with this brush, but I'm going to try. And then and it's running out on my carpet here, so I want to clean that up before it gets hard on my carpet. Wow, what a mess. It'd really be hard to find one much worse than this. The one that I rebuilt the top on wasn't much worse than this, I gotta be honest. When I say rebuilt the top on, what I meant was I hand carved a whole new top for one base because it was so bad. And this one's just about that way almost. But I think I can fix this one still. I could have fixed the other one probably, but okay, let's see what happens here now. Got glue dripped out on my carpet again. Okay, I think you can see I've got a lot of clamps on here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clamps, 8 over here. So we got a total of 8 clamps holding this base bar down, and these are just basically holding the laminations down. Trying to think if I could do better, if I could get another clamp in on that. Maybe from the other side or something. It wouldn't hurt to have another clamp on the base bar right here, so I'm going to see what I can do about that. It was a trick. You'll have to excuse my coughing. I've still got a really bad cough. This side is what we glued up, and you saw all the clamps on that already. And that worked out real good, and when you turn the base over and look at the smooth side of the base, it looks nice and curved like it's supposed to look. But over on this side, it's still got that V undercut in it. So it goes from smooth here to a direct ditch line on the other side, when you're looking at the outside of the base. So what I did was I cut this board with a slight curve to it, and I've clamped it. I've just dry clamped it to that, and now I'm checking the underside or the outside of the base, and I'm looking at the curve now, and under pressure it looks pretty good. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but man, it looks 110% better than it did, I can tell you that. So I'm about ready to try to get glue in all these laminations that are come loose, and then dry and then put this back on here, and then put extra clamps around to hold the laminations. This will hold a lot of the laminations itself just because of the distance that it's spanning here. But there's a lot of little laminations right around the F-holes that will need special clamps and things. I haven't even tried to work on these F-holes on this side yet. Just working over here at this point now, trying to get the overall conformity of the top back to where it should be. This really is a very challenging clamping and gluing project. So what I'm going to try to do now is get some glue in here, and I'll bring you back as we get the glue in here and start putting all the clamps back on. Okay, before I start gluing up the treble side, maybe you can see it. I hope you can. It just doesn't show up very good. This part here is sunk way down on the treble side. This here now is fairly smooth across here. It's fairly smooth, but on the treble side it's really sunk down. So that's what we're going to try to fix with all those clamps that you just saw. But first I have to get glue down in all these laminations. They're just completely apart, and then we'll try clamping that back up. This is sticking way up high here. To give you some idea how it's sticking up, look, see how much this board is rocking. It's rocking enough I can get my fingers under it on this end. Let me turn the camera down a little bit. You can see that I can get my fingers under this end, and when I rock it back the other way I can get my fingers under this end, no problem. It's very, very high right here, and when you're looking at the outside, well, then it's very low right there. So anyway, that's what we're trying to fix, is that gigantic hump there that was put in there from just years and years of playing it without any bracing. I've got some of these, or this top layer, I've got it pried open with wedges, and I'm literally pouring glue down in there. I mean, it just disappears. It goes way down in there. So there's no telling how far that is open. My goal is just to get glue down in there as far as I can, and then when we clamp it, it'll squeeze it around where it's supposed to go. But you know, you can't see it. You're just kind of going blind. I got to be perfectly honest with you. You just do what you can do on something like this. It should have been fixed many years ago. Probably wouldn't have got this bad. I mean, it's bad. I don't think it could be much worse. It'd be really hard to even tell you how many clamps I have on this. I've got one on each end here, these holding down this major board, so that's 2. And then these 2 wooden ones that I made, 3, 4. Then I've got a bunch of C-clamps, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 totals with C-clamps. And then 9, then be 10, 11, 12, 13 with those spring clamps. So I got 13 clamps at least on this right at the moment. Trying to hold all these laminations together and everything. I'll bring the camera around here where you can see it a little better on this side. Alright, we're handheld, and it's still hard to see how many clamps I've got because there's so many in there. I've got them going every direction you can think of, trying to hold all those laminations in place and trying to rebend it back in place. So I got the glue in between the laminations. I pressed the shape out of it with that big block, and then I started clamping all the little places around it. Hopefully that's going to hold it in place once it dries. that's yet to be seen. From peeking at the underside, or which would be the outside of the base, it looks pretty good. Does it look perfect? No, not perfect, but it looks pretty darn good compared to the fact that it had about at least a dent in the top that deep, all the way across from one F-hole to the other. It was recessed literally that deep. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I believe we're going to be able to salvage it. Okay, 24 hours has passed, and about to take the clamps off of this. We're going to see if we were successful in getting at least most of that sunken in place out of the top. Wow, that looks pretty good, and it's not as good as I was hoping actually. It's pretty good though. It's still sunk back in quite a bit right here. Yeah, I don't know what we could do to get that sunken spot out. It's not all the way across like it was, but it's still sunk in pretty good. Yeah, it's in bad shape. But it's you can probably still see the sunken in spot here. I don't know if it'll show up from the side view or not, but it's, I'd say instead of 3/4 of an inch deep, it's probably 5/16 of an inch deep now. So it's considerably improved, but not great. Okay. Well, now we're going to go through a lot of detail and just glue laminations everywhere I can and clamp them all the way around. And so I'm not going to bore you with all that. Basically, it's just getting glue underneath all these laminations and putting clamps everywhere. Well, good news, bad news. Bad news, good news, whichever way you want to look at it. The top part of this brace has now come loose. And I've slid a wedge under here to open it up as wide as I can. I've cleaned it out the best I can. Now I'm going to put some glue under that and do this. The reason it's bad news, good news is I had to fix it. The good news is it happened while we still had it apart. And I was suspicious of it, but it didn't seem like it was loose at all before. But wiggling around on it and just monkeying with this thing, it finally broke loose. I guess all the extra stress we've been putting on it too probably helped some too. So anyway, we'll fix that up too. So here we go.